Modulo Yuji vs Satoru Gojo is honestly one of the hardest matchups to talk about in JJK right now because on paper, Yuji might genuinely have better raw evolution, better physicality, and arguably the greatest growth rate we've ever seen in the series. But then you remember who he's fighting, Satoru Gojo. He's not just strong, he's a horrible matchup for almost every character in the verse. And that's why even with how broken Modulo Yuji has become, I still think Satoru Gojo wins more often than not. Now first, let's talk about Yuji because a lot of people seriously underrate how insane he's become in Modulo. Modulo Yuji has years of experience, far greater curse energy control, evolved blood manipulation, shrine pushed to another level, and physical stats that honestly might surpass almost everybody in the verse, outside of maybe Sukuna himself, but that's another talk for another time. And the scariest part about Yuji has always been this: the longer the fight goes on, the stronger he's going to become because, believe it or not, Yuji has one of the highest IQs when it comes to fighting in the series, especially now after 68 years of experience. Yeah, that's going to be a problem because he's going to find a way to beat you no matter what. That's why characters constantly underestimate him at first and then slowly realize they're fighting a monster. But despite all of that, there's one giant problem for everybody: Infinity. Because as of right now, Modulo Yuji does not have a confirmed world cutting slash, open barrier domain, domain amplification, which he most likely does have, but it was never confirmed. But we're just going to go on a whim and say he does have that. But I mean, it's not really useful against someone like Gojo. So or any guaranteed anti-infinity techniques. And that changes a lot in this story. People hear Yuji surpass Gojo physically and instantly think that means he wins the fight. But JJK has never worked like that. Being physically stronger than Gojo does not matter if you literally cannot touch him. Infinity is still one of the most broken, unfair abilities in the series because it completely changes how combat works. Yuji's punches completely stopped. Blood attacks also completely stopped. Shrine slashes most likely stopped unless they function similarly to Sukuna's world cutting slash, which, although they might have similar destructive power, they're still not going to be able to reach Gojo unless he's in his domain. And speaking of a domain, even if Yuji dominates the close range exchanges physically, Gojo still controls the distance at all times unless Yuji finds a way around Infinity. And that's why Sukuna himself needed Maharaga's adaptation in the first place. Raw strength alone was not enough. Now the real deciding factor of this fight would probably be the domain clash. And this is where things get interesting because unlike a lot of matchups, I genuinely think this part could go either way. Modulo Yuji almost certainly has absurd curse energy control and refinement by this point, especially considering how much he evolved in such a short amount of time originally. But Gojo does still have the 6 eyes, and the 6 eyes are honestly one of the biggest reasons I still lean towards Gojo overall, because domain battles are not just about who has more power, they're about their refinement, barrier skills, their output, efficiency, and their cert hit interactions and curse energy mastery. Gojo is basically perfect in all of those categories. Unlimited Void is still one of the strongest domains in the series. So even if Yuji's domain is technically more lethal, there's no guarantee he actually overpowers Gojo in a clash. And if Gojo wins the domain battle even once, the fight might be over. Unlimited Void plus Infinity is almost impossible combo to deal with unless you have a direct means of dealing with Infinity. Now, could Yuji still push Gojo harder than almost anyone else? Absolutely. Honestly, I think Yuji would shock Gojo at first. His physicality would probably force Gojo into taking the fight seriously very quickly. Yuji's blood manipulation would make him unpredictable. His endurance would make him incredibly difficult to put down permanently. And his growth rate during the fight itself could become dangerous over time. But eventually, the battle comes back to the same question over and over again. How does Yuji consistently bypass Infinity? And until Modulo confirms the true answers to that question, I still think Gojo wins. Now, it wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't be effortlessly, but he definitely would consistently win this fight, because matchup-wise, Gojo's abilities are almost specifically designed to counter fighters like Yuji. So my final answer is this: Modulo Yuji may honestly surpass Gojo in raw evolution, physicality, and of course his growth rate and potential. but potential alone does not beat Satoru Gojo. Until Yuji proves he has a reliable answer to infinity, or a domain refined enough to overpower unlimited void, Gojo still wins more often than not.